I think at the end of this season, it's going to be a mutual parting of ways, which is Robert Kraft saying, Bill, we appreciate everything. Take this pension and
but get out. What should Robert Kraft do at this point in the season, week 5, going into week 6?
I love, by the way, the question, is Bill on the hot seat? Is he not? If the media is constantly asking if you're on the hot seat, you're on the hot seat.
You're on the hot seat.
If you're not on the hot seat, they're not asking every week, okay? They're not asking Andy Reid if he's on the hot seat every week. They've been asking about Bill for 2 or 3 years now. Listen, the one thing that was kind of holding the whole Bill Belichick thing together was the fact that he was so close to Don Shula's all-time wins record, right? And he wanted to beat that. He wanted to beat that in New England. That means a lot to Bill Belichick. Anyone that knows him will admit it. It really means something to him. I don't think Robert Kraft really cares, but I think he would have been willing to concede. If they could have won 7, 8 games, and it took them winning 7 games this year, 8 games next year, maybe even one more year, I really genuinely think Robert Kraft would have given that to Bill Belichick. I think he would have said, fine, I'll deal with 3 more seasons of going 7-10 or whatever, so you can beat the record as a New England Patriot, and then you can step down and we'll move on. However, when you're going 1-4 and getting absolutely demolished, getting embarrassed in ways that the organization is not used to getting embarrassed, then I think is when Robert Kraft has to make a decision. The Pats have been outscored 72-3 in the last 2 weeks. Consecutive losses by 30 points or more for the first time since 1970. I am not going to get on here and badmouth Bill Belichick. He is the greatest coach of all time. However, the time comes for everyone. It's just the truth. Bill Belichick has reached that point, and it's not all on Mac Jones, even though Mac is awful. He is awful. He's done. There's no one on this roster, and because Bill's the GM, that accountability lands with him. There's been opportunities to build up this roster. He will not add offensive talent. He won't do it. Yeah. He is GMing like it's 2008 or 2006, and it's not. It's not sustainable. So, what will Robert Kraft do? This is what he should do. You don't fire Bill Belichick right now. You let it ride, and you hope you lose. And you hope you lose every game. Because Ryan, how many games can they win like this? It's just, there's nothing they can do. I think you just let it ride out and hope you're in a position to get Caleb Williams or Drake May. I think that's the smart move. You can't move on from Bill mid-season. That's going to look worse. I think at the end of this season, it's going to be a mutual parting of ways, which is Robert Kraft saying, Bill, we appreciate everything. Take this pension and
get out.
Retire gracefully. Right. It's time to move on. So I think if you're Robert Kraft, you hope that it keeps going this way. This is the problem with the whole draft system. It encourages bad play. They need a quarterback. That's what they need. They also need a new coach and GM. I think that's fair to say. Even if Bill Belichick still got it, they need a breath of fresh air. So Robert Kraft needs to let it roll, let this season be a disaster, and then next season they can actually be in a position to get a quarterback. Because if they're not, then they're in trouble for the rest of Kraft's life. Do you think Robert Kraft, do you think Bill Belichick's gone after this year?
I don't like that question because I don't think that you don't want to be the guy to fire Bill Belichick.
I don't think it's ever a fire.
And pray. Yeah, you can, or, nudge him along, right? You don't want to be the guy to do that. To take the main chair, the GM, the guy who's won more Super Bowls than any coach in history, and tell him that it's time to throw in the towel. Like, you don't want to be that guy, but at the same time, you hope that Bill can realize it himself and make this as easy as possible. If he's the GM, he's still going to have a whole lot of control over this, and him being the GM is kind of what got them into this position anyway.
That's the big issue.
I think he needs to just cut ties from the Patriots, go meet up with Tom Brady, maybe buy into the Raiders or something like that.
He's not going to do that.
Take it easy.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do that. I think he's going to make Kraft fire him. Whether that's fair or not, but at a certain point, something has to be done. We can't just keep doing this. And I understand. I understand the grace that all those championships get you, but it's not. That grace doesn't last forever. That's all I'm saying. So I think you let it ride and tank for Caleb Williams. If you're smart, that's what you do.